At a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, duly called and held on the 12th day of September 2011 at 7:53 p.m. in the Trustees Room, 2nd floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings Law.
Whereas members of this board present at this meeting have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of August 22nd, 2011. Now therefore be resolved, this board approves the minutes as entered in the official minutes, and be further resolved, the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed. Reports.
We have the village clerk bid opening report of September 8th, 2011 for the replacement of concrete sidewalk and curb around Village Hall. Bid tabulations are attached to the minutes and can be reviewed in the clerk's office. We also have the fire department report for the month of August 2011. There were a total of 152 calls, of which 112 were rescue and EMS, 16 false alarm and false calls, 10 good intent, 7 service calls, 5 hazardous conditions, and 2 fires. The third report is the justice report for the month of August 2011. Total number of cases of 192, with total fines and surcharges collected, including parking tickets, of $14,084.50. There were 96 vehicle and traffic, 54 criminal cases, village ordinances were 26, civil cases 11, and 5 ABC laws. The final report is the police report for the month of August 2011. Incidents total 772, of which 80 arrests were reported, 43 vehicle and traffic, and 55 parking tickets.
Correspondence.
Correspondence was received from Todd Crandall, principal of Fredonia High School, requesting permission to hold a homecoming parade commencing in front of Village Hall at 5:30 p.m. and proceed to the football field on West Main Street on Thursday, September 22nd, 2011.
Be resolved, the request from Todd A. Crandall, principal of Fredonia High School, to hold an homecoming parade commencing in front of Village Hall and proceed up West Main Street, entering the football field on Thursday, September 22nd, 2011, beginning at 5:30 p.m. Parade is letter dated August 22nd. Is hereby approved, subject to direction of the Fredonia Police Department and approval of the New York State Transportation.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Correspondence was received from Mary Jane Starks on behalf of the Festivals Fredonia Committee, requesting permission to use the west side of Barker Common Park, including the gazebo, and to bag the parking meters around the perimeter of Barker Common for the Harvest Moon Cemetery Tour event on Friday, October 14th, 2011, and Saturday, October 15th, 2011, from 6 p.m. until midnight.
Be it resolved that permission is hereby granted to Festivals Fredonia Committee for the use of the West Side Barker Common, including the gazebo, for the Harvest Moon Cemetery Tour event October 14 and 15, 2011, from 6 p.m. until midnight. And be it further resolved that the Police Department bag parking meters around the perimeter of West Barker Common and across the Main Street side of the East Barker Common for pickup and unloading of passengers for the trolley cemetery tours. This approval is also subject to a receipt of insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the Village of Fredonia as an additional insured, which the village has received.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed.
Correspondence was received from Jack Schwartz, Parks and Recreation Leader, requesting that hours and curfew be set for Halloween trick-or-treating in the Village of Fredonia and Town of Pomfret, and recommendation for the annual Halloween costume parade.
Whereas the hours for trick-or-treating are hereby approved from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. on October 31st, 2011 for the Village of Fredonia and Town of Pomfret, and a curfew be set for 7 p.m., and that parents be encouraged to tell their children not to trick-or-treat beyond 7 p.m. Residents are hereby urged to turn porch lights off at 7 p.m., thus signaling further trick-or-treating will not be accepted. And whereas the annual Halloween costume parade is scheduled for Saturday, October 29, 2011, starting at 1 p.m.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Correspondence was received from Neil Como as counsel for Paul Tabone as agent of a corporation to be formed at 24 Water Street, notifying the village that they will be applying for an on-premise liquor license for the Old Main Inn for premises located at 24 Water Street in the village. The final correspondence was correspondence received from Sergeant Stephen H. Bales, Lieutenant Colonel, Army Corps of Engineers, District Commander, addressed to the Honorable Stephen Keefe, Mayor. Dear Mayor, I am in receipt of your correspondence dated August 19, 2011. The Buffalo District intends to pursue termination of the project as described in our August 8, 2011 letter. In order to facilitate final accounting and to properly credit the village for project costs it has incurred, again I request that you submit documentation of your real estate and project coordination team costs in accordance with Articles 4 and 5 of the agreement, as well as documentation of any other costs for which you are claiming credit. A copy of this letter is being forwarded to Congressman Brian Higgins' office. If you have any questions, please contact Deputy for Programs and Project Management, Tom Switala, at 716-879-4220. It's dated August 30th, 2011.
Mr. Trail?
Yes.
Do you think it's appropriate to read at this time the response of Congressman Higgins?
Yes, you could read that. I think that would be in order.
Okay.
And then maybe after that, you can listen to the resolution we talked about. Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that with you right now? I give
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. St. George?
This is correspondence to Stephen H. Bale, District Engineer, Department of the Army, Buffalo District Corps of Engineers, from Brian Higgins, Congressman Higgins. Dear Lieutenant Colonel Bales, I write today with regard to the stream bank erosion protection project along Canadaway Creek at the Fredonia sewer line. I am in receipt of your correspondence dated yesterday to Mayor Stephen Keefe of the Village of Fredonia, New York. In your correspondence, you unilaterally dismissed the village's request for mediation. I write to convey to you clearly that I take exception to the United States Army Corps of Engineers' decision to proceed toward termination of the project without first engaging in mediation as spelled out in Article 7 of the Project Participation Agreement, and to recommend mediation as the reasonable and prudent course of action in this matter. I understand the Buffalo District's position that the village has signaled its unwillingness to meet obligations into which it freely entered with the exception of the Project Participation Agreement by Mayor Sullivan on March 26, 2009. The federal government must also realize, however, that there is strong merit to the village's position that the soft costs associated with this project, which far exceed the actual construction costs, are extremely excessive from the perspective of common sense and are unreasonable in the context of the capital budget of a small municipality. Again, the village's very reasonable request for mediation as provided for in the Project Participation Agreement is the sensible way forward, and I ask that you honor their request. Sincerely, Brian Higgins, Member of Congress.
And
All set?
I'll say.
Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers entered into a project participation agreement dated March 30th, 2009, whereby the Corps agreed to construct a 720-foot revetment along the bank of Canadaway Creek as generally described in the Planning and Design Analysis dated December 15th, 2005, and approved by the Corps on March 17, 2009, and the village agreed to pay for 35% of the cost as more fully set forth in the contract. And whereas the Corps is requiring as a condition to moving the project forward that the village pay the Corps 35% for 1999 design, which was rejected by the Corps, for which the Corps alleges to have spent $243,689 during the period of 1999 to 2005. And whereas the Board of Trustees believes that the contract does not require the village to pay any part of the 1999 design and the contract specifically related to the 2005 design, and whereas the Corps claims to have expended from 2005 through 2010 an additional sum of $237,671 in engineering and planning costs. And whereas the Corps claims that the additional $528,592 comprised of $373,592 in construction expenses and $155,000 in other ancillary expenses will be expended to complete the project, and whereas the Corps claims that the total fully burdened cost of the project is $1,009,952, with the village responsible for $35,000 of the fully burdened cost, less $40,000, thereby resulting in an adjusted total cost of $969,952. And whereas the Corps claims that the village share of the adjusted total cost is $339,483, and whereas the Corps initial appropriation figure for the project was $725,000, and whereas the total project cost as projected in Article 6 of the project participation agreement between the parties was $816,943, and whereas the Corps claims the total cost of all non-construction related expenses totals $636,360, which equals 88% of the appropriation cost and 78% of the total projected cost as specified in the project participation agreement. And whereas the village board believes that the Corps' pre-construction costs of $636,360 are either unauthorized or excessive for a project with an estimated construction cost of $373,592. And whereas the Corps now refuses to go forward and complete the project, as the village will not pay for costs it believes are unauthorized and excessive and has not obtained an easement. However, the village cannot move forward to obtain the easement unless the Corps first completes the necessary environmental assessment, which it refuses to do. Although, and whereas, this board believes that the Corps is diverting attention from the real reason that the project is not moving forward, which is the Corps' attempt to charge the village for costs of failed design and for costs that are excessive or not verified or substantiated, and the board further believes that the Corps had an obligation to, in good faith, fully disclose to the village that the Corps intended to charge the village for the 1999 design rejected by the Corps prior to signing the contract with the village, whereas the Board of Trustees does not believe the village should pay any portion of the engineering cost for the period of 1999 through 2005, since the contract specifically requires the village to pay only those costs directly related to the 2005 design, does not obligate the village to pay for the 1999 through 2005 design costs, which the Corps rejected as not feasible. And whereas the village board believes that the village should not pay any part of the 1999 through 2005 costs, and that the costs from the 2005 to present, including anticipated costs not yet incurred, are excessive and are not substantiated. And whereas the Corps is refusing to go forward with the project unless the village agrees to pay 35% of the total pre-construction costs, including the $155,000 not yet incurred, thus creating a dispute between the village and the Corps that needs to be resolved. And whereas the village, in good faith, has sought to resolve the dispute through negotiations with the meeting with the Corps officials in Buffalo, New York on April 1st, 2011, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby requests non-binding alternative dispute resolution, including mediation, as authorized under Article 7 of the contract between the village and the Corps, and the mayor is hereby authorized to send a letter to the Corps requesting the mediation resolution proceeding commencement as soon as possible as previously requested by the village in the letter from the mayor dated August 19, 2011. And be it further resolved that the mayor and the board appreciates the support of Congressman Higgins, and the mayor is hereby authorized to send Mr. Higgins a letter thanking him for supporting the village of Fredonia in this project.
Second.
I think there's room for discussion before a vote here. I'd like to thank Mr. Drayle, Mr. St. George for a lot of hard work that they've put into this. Mr. Drayle has done a lot of research, a lot of communication, a lot of thinking. He's done everything on the up and up in a gentleman's way to do the right thing. On the other hand, the Army Corps has kind of treated us as a bureaucracy that's not interested in doing what's in the best interest of the village. I don't know what their intentions are at this point. I think that Mayor Spagano and Sullivan deserve a great deal of appreciation for the work that they have put into this. And the boards that worked with those two mayors, as well as the boards working here right now, for the work that you've put into this. I know that when Joe Siri was on the board, earlier, the grant was approved, the $725,000 grant to do this project. This is a necessary project. It's a project that could have devastating causes to our creek, Lake Erie, and the environment around us if something is not done. The Army Corps has an obligation to work with us and to honor our agreement. They have signed the agreement. They have professed that they're going to work with us, and then with a slap of the face, they're saying that they're no longer obligated to work with us. We've asked them to give us detailed financial records of where these costs originated from. And I think that Mr. Dreo and Mr. St. George would both agree with me that when I looked at the figures that they sent us, where this cost is justified, it was gibberish. Had absolutely no foundation to it. And when you look at it, it's a package of numbers without any credible reasons for those expenses. So at this point, I hope that everybody's in agreement that this is the right course of action to take. Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to thank you, Mayor, and Rick and Sam for really going out on a limb and standing behind this thing, because I think you're exactly right. What I've seen is the same as you. I think that they have not put much time into it, and were thinking they were just going to reap the benefits of doing no work. And like the gentleman said earlier, if it was a larger plan, this would have slipped through the cracks, and you guys didn't allow it to happen, so thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Passed. At this time, we come to the public portion of the meeting. Would any of you like to add anything?
Come on,
Do
Tina.
you want to talk about the core?
Sing us a song, anything?
Resolutions.
Be resolved that the training request for Anthony Mastretta, operator training at the wastewater treatment plant to attend basic operations wastewater treatment plants at Morrisville State College in Morrisville, New York, from November 28th to December 9th, 2011, is hereby approved at a cost not to exceed $2,755. This will give Mr. Mastretta operating training requirements for the wastewater treatment operator's license.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be resolved that the village contribute $1,000 to the Festivals Fredonia Committee for promotional expenses association with the Victorian Dazzle Festival and the Red, White, and Blues Festival. And be it further resolved that the Festivals Fredonia Committee has substantiated to the village of Fredonia the expenditure of such funds on publicity.
Second.
Any discussion? Outstanding job by both committees, a lot
Yep.
of hard work,
Great
and
job.
nice events. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed.
Whereas bids for the replacement of concrete sidewalk and curb around Village Hall were publicly opened and read on September 8, 2011, and whereas Jack Boland, Supervisor of the Department of Public Works, has reviewed the bids and recommended awarding the bid to Estabone Construction, 17 Central Avenue, Fredonia, New York. Now therefore be it resolved that Estabone Construction Company Incorporated is hereby awarded the bid for the replacement of concrete sidewalk and curb around the Village Hall at a total cost $57,448.75, a copy of which is attached to and made part of these minutes.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that the easement dated August 23, 2010 from Casella Waste Management of New York, Inc. to Village of Fredonia for the stream bank erosion control project which has been received by the village is hereby approved, and the mayor is hereby authorized to sign said easement and any other documents necessary in connection with said easement, and the easement shall be recorded at the Chautauqua County Clerk's office.
Sam, should that be
Second.
2010 or 11? August 23rd, 2010 or 11? The easement.
10.
10?
What is it? Yeah, it should be 10.
It is 10.
I've had that in my
Okay.
folder for a while.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed.
Whereas a letter was received from Lauren Merlino, Chestnut Street, requesting permission to eliminate the sidewalk in front of her home at 461 Chestnut Street. This being the only sidewalk on Chestnut Street between Burnett Drive and Madison Street, and still not utilized by pedestrians. And whereas Jack Boland, Street Department Superintendent, and John Monaco, Chief Building Inspector, have reviewed and recommended approval of this request now, therefore it be resolved that permission is hereby granted to Lauren Merlino, 461 Chestnut Street, to remove her sidewalk in front of her residence at 461 Chestnut Street at no cost to the Village of Fredonia.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that Gugino Plumbing and Heating, Inc., 160 Cushing Street, Fredonia, New York, is hereby retained for the installation of a Train XR95 furnace and 15-seer air conditioning system at the D.R. Barker Museum, per their proposal letter agreement dated September 9, 2011, at a cost not to exceed $6,816, and the mayor is hereby authorized to sign said letter agreement on behalf of the Village of Fredonia.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be resolved that the hourly rate of pay of Eric Herbo, full-time temporary laborer of the Department of Public Works, is hereby raised to $9.50 per hour, effective September 12, 2011. No other benefits to be given, subject to all civil service rules and regulations.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that Benjamin Kravitz is hereby appointed to the position of part-time police officer on an as-needed basis at a rate pay of $12 per hour with no other benefits, effective immediately, subject to all civil service rules and regulations.
Second.
Any discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. I'd like to bring up one thing. Since Jack Swartz isn't here, I'm going to take advantage of a situation because he and I are both going to be locked up for MDA on September 29th. So if anybody's looking for a nice cause to invest in, I think if you invest enough money, they'll keep me longer. If you, or if you wanted to invest in getting me out, pay a bell for me. I'll be sending out emails and Facebook notices to everybody that I can think of. Anything else for the good of the order?
We approved the Halloween parade information for the 29th, so any local organizations, I know it's a little premature, but any local organizations willing to participate in the Halloween parade, please send a letter to the Fredonia Recreation Department, Jack Schwartz.
Anybody else? Anything else?
Nope.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Do I hear a second?
Jack, did you have something to
Good.
say?
I have a question,
Oh,
No.
Sam, actually, regarding the resolution for the sidewalk replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Don't we need to authorize the mayor to sign the contract? Or is that not
Yeah,
necessary?
I would add that in there. I did draw the resolution, but if it wasn't in there, we should amend the resolution to say the mayor's authorized to sign the contract with Sabone Construction Company.
So moved.
okay. Is that amendment okay with everyone? Is everybody in agreement?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, got a second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll amend that to have you sign the contract. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Kind of important.
You got?
Okay, did we have a second on adjournment?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Sure.